Beach FM, locals talking to locals.
The Greater Wellington Regional Rep, Penny Gaylor. Good morning, Penny.
Good morning, everybody. What a glorious day we've got.
Well,
fantastic day, isn't it?
Well, it's not bad. It's overcast here and a bit cool as far as I'm concerned, but that's beside the point. Now, your long-term plan submission hearings are all over and done with, and you got a bit of a rack up from the Kapiti Mayor.
Oh, yeah. No, we got a rack up from quite a few mayors.
Right.
They came in and absolutely put their case for their respective areas. Of course, some gave us a rack up for changing it, and some gave us a rack up for not changing other bits and all sorts of things, because, you know, they're representing their specific districts or particular cities. So they actually did, quite a few of them had different points of view from one another. So then, as I'd said to you last week, as I was signing off to get back to those deliberations, that we then had to begin the arm wrestle, that I have to say was actually pretty grueling. We kicked into that as soon as we finished the hearings on Thursday afternoon, and then we had a bit of a ponder amongst ourselves in the evening, and then got back to it early on Friday, and we just sat there till we got it sorted, and I'll say debated, but there was a bit of arguing, quite a bit of arguing actually. You know, we were all at the table representing our own particular communities, and while I am constantly reminded around the table that, of course, when we get here, it's all about the regional perspective. But to be blunt, you know, I was there representing Kapiti, and I respect the fact that the others were there representing their respective communities, and that's the art then of in politics, when you're trying to win a debate of amongst 13 of us and you're only one actual vote. You have to persuade people to your thinking. So managed to get some wins across the line for Kapiti, managed to get some of the longer transition that we had been hoping for from Kapiti, and so that flood protection stuff is staying at the current regime. Then we've got the public transport, which will be a longer transition, which will long haul kind of mean less money that we're having to pay for Kapiti and just less of a burn. And one thing that was a really good win for Otaki, I did try to argue the point that it would be for the whole of Kapiti, but simply got, I won't say shouted down, but it got a bit close to that. We got the differential for Otaki, recognising that it is a community that does not get the public transport that the rest of Kapiti does, certainly not the majority or the bulk of the Wellington region, and so it will be on par with the same public transport differential as the Wairarapa. So, you know, that's good.
So what would be the differential in percentage for Otaki?
So it's a 50% differential.
Wow.
Recognising that it is essentially a rural community. So, you know, that will be what plays out. Of course, you know, one day we're still hoping for electrification. And when that comes, you know, the rub will be that we'll no longer be rural differential, we'll be in a city kind of public transport scenario. But that is a really long time away. But in the meantime, that 50% differential does accurately reflect that there is far less public transport in the Otaki community. And we're going to keep working on the fact that we build that level of public transport. So, yeah, so I appreciated the fact that KCDC came in and you know, on force. There were a number of councillors there. That's good. They split up how they were talking to different points. It was good, because, as I say, when you're one voice and one vote around the table, that's the thing I've always tried to get people to put in submissions, because I can go to that table and say, oh, everybody in my community wants this. But if none of you actually come and say that as well, it can look a bit lofty and maybe like I might just be making it up, which of course I'm not. So I did appreciate those who could come in and those who put submissions in. But I have to say, Kapiti did not put in as many submissions as I'd hoped. Wairarapa put submissions in on force. Good on them. They, you know, were facing a very significant burn for them in terms of that flood protection work.
So do you think it's time we had more than one representative on the Greater Wellington Regional Council? That was always debated years ago, I think, but has it got to that stage? We're such a big sort of a community now.
Well, I think that it would be a case of boundaries would have to shift, because I have the largest population ward of 51,000 people now, and all the others actually represent, you've got 5 from Wellington, which is barely 200,000, so they're more like 40,000 each, and then Poirua has 2, but they actually cover right that Tawa area as well. So they have 2, but it's a different boundary than just strictly that Poirua District Council. So it would actually involve moving quite a few boundaries that then are not the natural alignment to your local district council or city council. So, it solves the problem, creates a problem. So that's a discussion that we'll be having probably coming up, because it is, in the cycle of things, something that would get discussed before the next election.
So where are we now to find out when you're going to put the final rates out for us?
So on the 14th of June is when we have our next formal council meeting, and so it was a hearings committee meeting, and then we had deliberations. We voted on it. I have to say it was like my father was an auctioneer of livestock, and it was a little bit like that. It was fairly hectic. There were numbers flying all over the place, papers everywhere. It was a little bit of chaos, and so good cheering by Councillor Barbara Donaldson. She's done this a few times. Some wins and losses for all of us, to be honest.
Great.
So I'm glad we got some of those wins in the bag.
Now, the Capital Connection has raised its head again, and looks like we're running out of finance, and it hasn't been renewed. What's your story on that one?
So as I've been saying, that the Regional Council have, and as part of our long-term plan, factored in new money to invest in new trains that would replace the Capital Connection. The reality is that would have to be 4 years away, because it simply takes time to tender, do design, tender, put bids out, all that kind of process, and then build them, and then get them here, and then practice on them. So that's a wee way off. Up to 4 years would be that scenario. We, in our long-term plans, they say, sign off money. What is happening right now is the pitch to the Treasury and, of course, the Minister of Transport, Phil Twyford, to say, will government put in this amount of money to buy these trains for the Wairarapa and what would be the replacement of Capital Connection. So all that is playing out as we speak. It is happening. So it's going to be just a very, my prediction is we'll kind of carry on, there'll be the last minute reprieve, as we've experienced many times now for the Capital Connection. And because, decisions are pending on that really big bit of investment. But I have to say, every single signal that we've had from this government is that there will be that investment into, the regional transport network. So,
Yeah, but will the Capital Connection, as it is now, still operate?
Yes, so that would be the interim service that just continues on through until we get the new set of trains.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, then, Penny.
Can I just, if we've got a moment, just to say that yesterday we had a fantastic planting day alongside the Otaki River at the Otaki Lakes, and 40 regional council staff from all the flood protection area, over from the Wairarapa, up from Wellington, and from our local bods who work in the flood protection area, alongside a lot of community volunteers. There were just shy of 120 people. We planted 2,000 plants. If you want a working bee around your place, I'd say pull us in, because we nailed it in just over an hour. And it's first stage of actually any planting around the edges and the beaching areas of the Otaki Lake. So a really great day for it yesterday, and everybody was very heartened, and it was great to see our staff who spend a lot of their time focused on all this kind of stuff actually getting out to do some of it and plant these plants themselves. So everybody was very pleased with our activities yesterday.
Well done. Thanks very much for that, Penny, and you have a good
Lovely.
week. I'll talk to you next Thursday.
Great, thank you.
Penny Gaylor, our Wellington Regional Rep.
106.3 Beach FM.